many games are going to win this fall?
The Florida Gators right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can make every moment more, have an over-under win total of 4.5. Number one Florida Gators fan, Bud Elliott. Where are you going?
So I have really been wanting to bet this over if it got down to more even money, or like if it somehow dropped to 4. It didn't. It kind of found its bottom. This is a tough one for me because I'm not really sure how to model the possible attrition that comes with a schedule like this. Like, this is the hardest schedule I've ever seen, and by a lot. So it's to the point where I think if you're just kind of taking a straight line, point spread, determining your win probability, aggregating those, and then running some kind of Monte Carlo sim, I don't know that that's actually enough. Like, you probably need more dynamic uncertainty in your projection due to the week-to-week grind here. And there's no practice squad on a college football team. In the NFL, like, the worst NFL player on a team is never going to be below a certain level because there's always more. Like, there's so many guys who can play at that practice squad level, right? That's not so in college. If you start to lose guys, you really do insert guys in the lineup who just cannot play at that level. And that's when things go really bad.
I'm sorry, you said Monte Carlo sim? Is that a word that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's different kind of simulation you can run if you want. But I mean, they close Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State with no bye week.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to throw L's on that schedule. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and granted, like, any of those games they could in theory win if they played really well and the opponent screwed around, with probably the exception of Georgia, unless Beck gets hurt. But also, I mean, their letdown games are there. Like UCF, they're 2-point dogs in the swamp to Miami. They host A&M. I'm a very slight under here because I am building in a little more, roster attrition, I think, that comes to this. And I don't like that Jamari Lyons got hurt in the scrimmage. I mean, they have two really big bodies on the interior who are very good players when they're in there, when they're fresh. But you do need that defensive line depth. And I don't like that he got hurt. I don't know if he's out for the season or anything like that, but that's not a great start for them. So I think those big bodies can wear down in the heat, and that's a problem. So I'm going under. I didn't think I would be.
Yeah, the Monte Carlo sim has me thinking about Monte Cristo. Thank you, Hot Danger. And now I was thinking about calling mine a Croque Madame simulator. Tom, what are we doing with the Gators?
I've taken nothing but unders so far. So, of course, my first over is the Florida Gators team that we're all just kind of assuming is dead because of that schedule is going to kill them. But I think they can get to 5 wins. I think they might be able to get to 6. Like, I understand the back half of this schedule is an absolute kick in the face over and over again. And by the time they get there, they could be in bad shape. But you know what? We don't talk about that often. They could be 5-0 to start the year. Like, they could beat Miami. They will beat Samford. They could beat Texas A&M at home. They'll probably beat Mississippi State on the road, and they should beat UCF at home. So, like, that's a possibility of 5-0. They could be over by the first week of October. And then things kind of go crazy. But, like, Kentucky at home is winnable. And they won't be as, like, destroyed possibly by then. Like, because after their second bye in October is when November starts, and when it goes Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at Florida State. That's going to be death for them. But they might, who knows? They might steal one of them. It's not like the team isn't talented. When we talk about this team, we talk more about the schedule than the roster. But I do think the over is more likely than the under here. Not by a ton, as the juice on this suggests it is, but I do like 5 and 7 more than I like 4 and 8.
You stole my thunder. I was going to say over by October 19th. That's
Kentucky.
And if it's not, if they do lose to Kentucky, which I believe would be the 4th time in a row, that might be that is just kind of shows you where the state of the football program is right now. It's also a tribute to Mark Stoops and the job he's done. But if they lose that weekend bye week, like, that would possibly be the change. But I'm more like Tom, and I'm at the point where I'm a little exhausted of hearing how hard the schedule is going to be. It is hard, but this still is the University of Florida. Like, this is still one of the programs that still does recruit pretty decently. And I know they haven't been up to par as where they would like them. And it's one of the reasons they ran Dan Mullen off. I also think Dan Mullen, or excuse me, Graham Mertz brings a lot of stability that, a lot of these games are going to be close one possession games. Like, I don't think he's going to make that big mistake. And I think that I'm more in line with they could start 5-0 than it could be a 2-3 collapse to start the year. So I'm on the over as well.
Yeah.
And they have catered the offense to Graham Mertz in that they brought in they brought in a former wide receiver from Wisconsin that he played with in DK, and then they also brought in a receiver named Badger to make him feel more at home.
Also, maybe Lagway is the guy, right?
Yeah.
By midseason. I mean, talent-wise, he's scary.
He's probably the starter by October 19th as well if they don't win that. They don't hit the over by then.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe they sprinkle him in. Maybe he provides some life, some spark to an offense which needs it.
Yeah, I know we're talking about the toughest SEC schedule since Sawani's 1894 slate, but it is an advantage that the Miami, the Texas A&M, the UCF, and the Kentucky games are all in the Swamp, which, as we've talked about, is a really, really good home field advantage. When that place is rolling, it is loud, and it can be a real boost for the Gators. So, I think that this is a great opportunity. I am on the over. I've got this thing right at 5-7. Would not bet it at the current prices. Maybe if you want to go exact win total, 5 does seem very, very possible and lots of different ways to do it. And the Kentucky game, Danny, you're right on the money because Florida had won 33 of 34 games in that series and have now lost 3 in a row. And last year, I mean, I'd forgotten this until I was going back. Last year, they just got dunked on by Kentucky. Yeah. Kentucky was up by 4 scores, like in the second quarter, and just kind of
running over them.
Yeah, just bowling over them.
Yeah, and Florida misplayed some of those trap runs in that game, just embarrassingly so. I think the overcase for Florida is some of the young D linemen step up. Mertz year 2 in the system. Second-year transfer quarterbacks typically look really good. I do think there's something to bring in Ron Roberts, and I don't want to use the word babysit Austin Armstrong, but Austin Armstrong was a very young coordinator who, I think is extremely bright if you listen to everybody talk about him, but there is an ability to distill all that knowledge in your head down to something people can actually understand. And, having Ron Roberts, sort of a more experienced voice in the room, be like, do we really need that many answers to every question? Like let's just try to run a little bit less stuff and bust fewer coverages maybe until we can get that right at least. I could see that helping out quite a bit.
Yeah, talk about the cliches. It's like, well, we just need to simplify and play fast. All right, that's what we just need to go let athletes be athletes.
But literally in this case, literally,
that is a good idea.